I have very often praised Thunderbird for the rework of its donation model. Starting back in Thunderbird 102, every so often when there is a big upgrade, it shows a donation prompt directly in your web browser. It'll open a pop-up and say, hey, if you like Thunderbird, donate to the project. Now, these can get annoying if they're happening way too often, if they're constantly appearing. People just tend to start ignoring them. But at the rate that Thunderbird is doing them, I don't have an issue with them, and very clearly, it was working. And I have been calling for other places to take up a very similar model, the distro and the desktop being the most obvious places for it to make sense. And recently, Nate Graham talked about the exact same thing in the context of KDE Plasma. But not just talking about it, going ahead and doing it. Starting in Plasma 6.2 onwards, Plasma itself will show a system notification asking for a donation once per year in December. It'll look something like this. It's very possible between now and then it is going to have some very minor modifications in the text being shown. The idea here is to get the message that KDE really does need your financial help in front of more eyeballs, especially eyeballs not currently looking at KDE's public-facing promotion efforts. This is a really important point because it's not like KDE just wasn't asking for donations before. Anytime there is a big KDE event, really, anytime there is an event slightly adjacent to KDE, anytime there is a KDE blog post, whether it's from Nate or anybody else, whether it's something else slightly related to KDE, it is going to direct you to this page here, donate and support KDE. And if you're paying attention, you will occasionally see things like this, where KDE was running a membership drive trying to build up a lot more support before the launch of Plasma 6. And all of this stuff is great. Obviously, it is working, it is getting them more funding, it is getting them more support, and is making it a more sustainable desktop to build. But you're not seeing numbers like this. And there's one very good reason for this. If you're going to KDE events like Academy or smaller local events happening in different regions, if you're reading KDE-related blog posts from Nate or anybody else out there, if you're seeing KDE membership drives being promoted on KDE social media, you are likely someone who is already very heavily engaged in KDE. You're obviously a user or someone who supports the desktop, but you're likely already someone who is supporting the project. If you've gone to Academy, I find it very unlikely that you've never donated to the project or you're not a member already of KDE. But there are all of these other people that are just using the desktop, and it came with Kubuntu, it came with Fedora KDE, it came with Manjaro, and yeah, you like the desktop, you support the developers, but you've never gone out of your way to actually donate to the project. At the end of the day, everybody is lazy about something. And I don't mean this in a bad way. You might be incredibly dedicated to your job or your kids or your hobby or something else like that, but there's always things in your life that you just don't really give that much time to. And when it's something like supporting a bit of software you have running on your computer that just works pretty much all the time, the more barriers you put in front of people to know that they should donate, to know where to donate, to know how to donate, the less likely you're going to have people actually go ahead and do so. So by putting this in front of people where they are, not requiring them to go to some other weird website or some social media platform they don't actively use, by putting it right in front of their eyes, like with Thunderbird, opening it directly in your browser, this is going to put a lot more people in a position where they think, maybe I should support the project. Even if they are very, very minor hurdles, every single hurdle you put in front of people is more people that are never going to get involved. Nate likes to write blog posts about random things happening in Plasma, but there's a very good reason why he's talking about this one. He led the merge request. KDE's recent experience with donations has been that when we ask, people donate. In most cases in the FOSS world, if you're making good software, that is a very important point, making good software, people are going to be willing to support it, most people don't know that you actually want money to be supported. Like, it seems logical that you would need money to run the project, but a lot of people just don't really make that connection. Our 2022 fundraiser brought in 35,000 euros, and the 2023-2024 one brought in over 140,000, and these were advertised only through KDE's media channels, not in the software itself. Income like this is important for KDE EV's financial sustainability and ability to grow and expand initiatives, but it still pales in comparison to current and expected future expenses. Other popular software-based nonprofits such as Thunderbird and Wikimedia ask for donations yearly in the UI of their software and see huge returns from it. Accordingly, this commit implements a yearly system notification in Plasma that asks the user to make a donation. It's shown once in December and then won't appear again for a year. Also, if you never want to see it, it can be permanently disabled. Now, as with most merge requests, there were questions and changes people would like to see. The first one I want to talk about is from Nico. What about a learn more button? I think some people might see this and be curious into how the money is spent and how the fundraising works without necessarily being immediately convinced they want to donate now. This is a perfectly fine suggestion and is probably going to be implemented at some point in the future. The only reason why it's not being done immediately is they don't really have a good page to direct people to. There are things like the KDE Plasma 6 membership drive and other pieces here and there, like the regular donate page that has some information, but they don't have a single page that has good, succinct information that works for this use case. Whilst this is a good change for those who have never donated, or maybe those who are infrequent donators, maybe they've donated one year but not the other, for those who are active supporting members, they give 50 or 100 euros every single year. For those people, you might consider it nagging, and maybe they'll find it kind of annoying to see every single year. Now, I don't really consider this to be that big of a deal, because if you do find it a problem to see one notification every single year, you can go ahead and disable it. I am concerned about the disabling because of downstreams. I'm curious to see what some of the distros are going to be doing. Arch, they don't touch things usually. Fedora KDE, they'll probably do the same. But I'm curious to see if Kubuntu and Manjaro are going to leave this intact. Even though it is just being shown in December, there is one case where it probably shouldn't be shown. When you install Plasma in December, it would be very weird if the instant you install the desktop, it's like, hey, donate to the project. It's kind of like a mobile game where the instant you open it, the instant you do any little thing, it's like, hey, give me your credit card, give me your money, give it. It would just be like a really weird look. So instead of doing that, now it is going to be suppressed for 14 days, and then it will show the notification. But someone was curious about why December anyway. December isn't just a randomly selected time. Firstly, it is when they do their fundraisers, but the reason why they do their fundraisers in December isn't just random either. That's because a lot of countries have celebrations in December. In Australia, we do Christmas. In America, Christmas is fairly common as well. You do have other celebrations as well that happen around that end of year time. And a lot of people tend to be a lot more giving around that time. So if you're going to run a donation drive, that's the best time to do it. Now, on the donate button, the current incarnation just says donate. This is not what it originally said. Originally, it was donate now. This changed due to a concern from Oliver Beard. Donate now might be a bit too pushy. Could learn more be better? I feel like it's more welcoming to people who don't currently intend to donate, as the page has information and can be expanded. Seeing the current text might turn these people away. I understand the perspective that he's coming from here, but being pushy is what you want to do in this context. If they're doing something like flashing on your screen, donate now, donate now, donate now, and there was like a siren going on in the background, I think you would have a point about it being way too pushy. But it's saying donate now instead of learn more, I don't really think is that pushy. And changing it just to learn more kind of puts them in the state they are already in. There's already enough hurdles in the way getting people to donate to the KDE project, getting people to know they can donate, where to donate. Just saying, hey, we support donations, click here to learn more. Like, everybody knows that KDE accepts donations. Doing it through this way, I don't really think would have that positive of an effect. Now, there was a slight modification to the text. Instead of donate now it's just been changed to donate. I think donate today is also fine as well. Unrelated to this merger, someone noticed that in the system settings, in About the System, there's nowhere that actually prompts the user to donate. This is somewhere that it just makes logical sense for this to exist. It does exist in the Welcome Center, but the Welcome Center you only see when you're being welcomed. About This System is something you go to on a very regular basis. It's something that if you're going to report bugs, you're going to check out just to make sure you have your version numbers lined up correctly. Having a little button down the bottom there, I think would be perfectly fine, and most people here seem to think so as well, but it's outside the scope of this specific merger. Now, of course, people are going to have concerns, and one of those concerns is at the bottom here. Please don't go into repos and do this. This is the reason why threads get locked. You're just wasting your time. You're not going to make a good point here. No one's going to listen to you if you just make an account to be annoying. Besides that person, there are some actual concerns that Nate wanted to address. I think you're wrong. People hate pop-ups, and this is going to turn them off. I do suspect a small but vocal crowd of people will spread doom and gloom about it on social media anyway, like the person we saw in those comments. This also happened when we implemented off-by-default telemetry, which, by the way, was implemented so conservatively that it barely collects any information of value at all. I have seen many of these comments when I've talked about telemetry as well. I explicitly say off by default, and people are like, hey, but what if it stops being off by default? What if it starts collecting information like on Windows? You're a moron. Stop it. Get some help. The worst case scenario is we just don't get more donations after a couple years and then end up removing it. That is always an option, but I think it's worth venturing out there and being a bit bold. With risk comes opportunity. KDE shouldn't need to pay people directly. Employment should come from vendors and software distributors shipping our software. To a certain extent, this already does happen. By far the largest contributor of paid work is Blue Systems, mostly funded by Valve Corporation, which ship KDE on the Steam Deck. There are also trickles and spurts of sponsored work from distros, KDAB, and enterprising folks who get funded via grants, and it would be nice if there were more people being paid by companies like Valve. Nobody's disagreeing with that. Ultimately, a healthy economic ecosystem around KDE includes people employed by many parties, including KDE itself, in my opinion. This is how KDE can help control its own destiny, and that costs money. Money that needs to come from somewhere. You need to pay people a competitive salary. Maybe you can't pay them what they're going to get paid at some of the largest firms out there, but you can't just pay them minimum wage if you actually want to have a competent engineer. And usually when a company is paying for work to be done on a FOSS project, they have some sort of goal in mind. Now, I don't know how strict the work is being done with Blue Systems, so I can't really comment on that. I know with Red Hat, for example, they are fairly open about what's being done, but in a lot of other cases, they have a very specific goal. If you're being paid directly by the KDE EV, though, I imagine that would be a lot more open about what you do with KDE. Maybe they do have some specific goals, but you want to have the ability to say, this is the kind of things that we want to focus on, rather than what some other entity wants to do. Why does it have to be a notification pop-up? Put this in Welcome Center or something. We had a request for donations in Welcome Center for several years, and it didn't make a difference because right after you've installed your system wasn't the right time to ask. At that point, you don't know if you like Plasma yet, so asking for money is premature. Now, I do think there is value not in the installation point, but the upgrade point. If you're going from 6.1 to 6.2, 6.2 to 6.3, Plasma 5 to Plasma 6, you likely know that you already like Plasma. That's why you're doing an upgrade. So I think maybe at that point, it should be experimented with to see if you want to donate then. If KDE is as successful as Thunderbird and Wikipedia have been, what are you going to do with all of that money? Now, Nate cannot answer that question by himself. He is only one member of the board. It's a discussion for everybody else involved. But he does have his wishes. Extend an offer of full-time employment to our current people and hire even more. I want us to end up with paid QA people and distro developers and even more software engineers. I want us to fund the creation of a next-gen KDE OS we can offer directly to institutions looking to switch to Linux and a hardware certification program to go along with it. Some people might say, oh, but what about KDE Neon? Isn't that already the KDE OS? I imagine what he's talking about here is less about a development test environment built off of an LTS system and something more akin to, say, Fedora KDE. Something actually intended to be used as a full-on desktop distro. I want us to extend our promotional activities and outreach to other major distros and vendors and pitch our software to them directly. I want to see Ubuntu, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and SUSE Linux Enterprise Desktop ship Plasma by default. I want us to use this money to take over the world with freedom, empowerment, and kindness. If you didn't know, RHEL actually used to ship KDE as an option on that system. I believe they stopped shipping it because shipping Plasma has a lot of complexity. The release model is a bit weird. When they release things, don't really align with the release model they want to have. And there's a lot of things they've been trying to address to make it fit into these systems. As of today, right now, what is it? 3rd of September, 2024. It's impossible to say what the result of this is going to be. We're gonna have to wait 6 months, a year, and then we can see whether this has a positive effect. I can't imagine it does nothing, but if it's going to be Thunderbird levels of success, I imagine that depends on other things they do at the same time as well. What really helped Thunderbird as well is when you saw that donation window, it was this very, good-looking website that was clear and easy to understand how to use. This page needs a little bit of work. Just a tad. But when they work it out, I think it's going to be a very positive situation. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think they should do it more? Do you think maybe there is a better way to approach this? I would love to know. So if you liked the video, go like the video. And if you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to the Libera Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and donate now! Donate now! Donate now!